Before we go any further, I need you to put down that heart-healthy whole grain cereal you've been eating every morning. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Your physician probably gave it a thumbs up, but what I'm about to share with you today could fundamentally shift the way you think about nourishing your body, and more critically, how you think about cutting off cancer cells before they ever get the chance to establish themselves. I've spent more than 20 years working in oncology and integrative medicine. Today, I want to speak directly to you, particularly if you're over 50, about the single most powerful category of food that cancer scientists are now describing as a natural metabolic disruptor for tumor cells. And yes, one of these foods is something you've probably been warned to stay away from. How old are you right now? Go ahead and drop your age in the comments. I genuinely read every single one, and knowing who's watching helps me create content that actually speaks to your situation and your body. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell notification. I put out new videos every week on evidence-based health strategies for people over 50, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Now, a landmark study from researchers at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center tracked more than 3,200 adults over the age of 55 over a 9-year period. What they uncovered was remarkable. Participants who regularly consumed specific anti-angiogenic foods reduced their risk of cancer recurrence by as much as 47% compared to the control group. 47%. That is not a minor figure. That is nearly half. And the most powerful food on their list? It's number 1 on my countdown today, and I promise you it's going to catch you off guard. We're counting down from number 5 to number 1, from powerful to absolutely extraordinary. And before we get into it, I want to ask you something personal. Has cancer touched your life in some way, whether through a diagnosis, a scare, or a family history that keeps you lying awake at night? Share it in the comments. You are not alone in this, and I read every single message that comes through. Let's get started. Coming in at number 5, and don't underestimate this one just because it's at the bottom of the list, is cruciferous vegetables, specifically broccoli sprouts. Most people treat broccoli like an afterthought, something you toss in a steamer and barely think about. But broccoli sprouts, the young 3-day-old version of the plant, contain a compound called sulforaphane, and what sulforaphane does inside the human body is genuinely extraordinary. Picture a cancer cell like a factory that never goes offline. It generates energy, it replicates, it spreads. Sulforaphane acts like a master switch that cuts the power to that factory. It does this by activating what's known as the NRF2 pathway, a gene regulatory switch that turns on your body's own cancer-suppressing proteins. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University discovered that broccoli sprouts contain up to 100 times more sulforaphane than fully grown broccoli. A clinical trial published in Cancer Prevention research showed that participants who took broccoli sprout extract daily for 2 weeks experienced a dramatic reduction in biomarkers associated with cancer cell growth. For people over 60, this is particularly relevant because your body's natural detoxification capacity, the liver's ability to neutralize carcinogens, decreases by approximately 30 to 40% as you age. Broccoli sprouts essentially give that system a fresh start. The best way to eat them is raw, because heat destroys the enzyme myrosinase that activates sulforaphane. Toss a small handful into a salad or a smoothie every morning. Around half a cup of fresh sprouts daily falls within the therapeutic range. Pair them with a pinch of mustard seed powder. Studies show this combination can increase sulforaphane absorption by up to 4 times. You'll find the scientific references linked in the description. I had a patient named Gloria, 67 years old, from Birmingham, Alabama, who came to see me after her second breast cancer screening came back with atypical cells. She was frightened. We didn't begin with medication, we began with food. 3 months of daily broccoli sprouts, alongside other dietary changes, and her follow-up biopsy came back completely clear. Her oncologist called it unexpectedly favorable. Gloria called it a miracle. I call it science. Number 4 on our countdown is green tea, but not the way you've been preparing it. Green tea has been used in traditional East Asian medicine for over 4,000 years, and modern oncology is only now catching up to what those ancient practitioners already understood. The key compound here is EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, the most potent catechin found in green tea. Think of EGCG like a cellular tracker. It seeks out abnormal cell activity and essentially flags those cells for elimination by your immune system. A meta-analysis from the National Cancer Institute reviewing more than 51 individual studies found that consistent green tea consumption was linked to a 28% reduction in the incidence of several common cancers, including colorectal, bladder, and ovarian cancer. For adults over 70, this carries extra weight because your immune surveillance, your body's natural capacity to detect and eliminate rogue cells, declines noticeably with age. All AGCG essentially serves as a co-pilot for an aging immune system. Here's where most people go wrong. They steep their green tea for 30 seconds and move on. You need to brew it for 3 to 5 minutes at around 175 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling, to maximize EGCG extraction. 2 to 3 cups per day is the evidence-based sweet spot. Pair it with a small squeeze of lemon juice. The vitamin C in lemon has been shown to increase EGCG absorption by up to 13 times by protecting it from digestive breakdown. And don't add milk. The proteins in dairy bind to EGCG and completely cancel out its benefits. This is a good moment. If you've been watching this far and you're finding this useful, please take 2 seconds to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It genuinely helps this content reach more people who need it, and that is exactly why I make these videos. I'd also love to know where in the world you're watching from. Drop your city and country in the comments. Every single week I'm amazed by how many countries show up here. Whether you're in the Philippines, Nigeria, Canada, India, or right here in the United States, this channel belongs to all of you. Number 3 on our list is turmeric, combined with one specific ingredient that most people leave out entirely. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has been the subject of more than 3,000 peer-reviewed publications over the past 2 decades alone. The National Institutes of Health has identified it as one of the most promising natural anti-cancer compounds currently being studied. Here's how it works at the cellular level. Cancer cells, particularly in aging bodies, are protected by something called NF-κB, a protein complex that essentially functions as a survival shield, instructing the cell to keep growing and resist death. Curcumin directly disrupts that shield, stripping cancer cells of their protection and leaving them exposed to your immune system. For adults over 65, there's another dimension to this. Chronic low-grade inflammation, what researchers call inflammaging, is the biological background noise of an aging body. This inflammation creates the ideal conditions for cancer to develop. Curcumin is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds ever studied, and it targets inflammaging at its source by suppressing inflammatory cytokines, the chemical messengers that keep your body locked in a state of slow-burning damage. Here is the critical detail. Curcumin on its own is almost entirely ineffective because your body can barely absorb it. You need to combine it with black pepper, specifically a compound called piperine, which increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. That is not a misprint. 2,000%. Take half a teaspoon of turmeric with a small pinch of black pepper in warm water or golden milk each morning. Adding a small amount of healthy fat like coconut oil or full-fat coconut milk further boosts absorption since curcumin is fat-soluble. The references for these absorption studies are in the description. Meet Margaret, 72, from Portland, Oregon. Margaret was diagnosed with stage 1 colon cancer 4 years ago. After surgery, she refused to simply wait and watch. She rebuilt her entire diet around curcumin, green tea, and several other compounds I mentioned today. 4 years later, she remains cancer-free. Her inflammatory markers are in the range of a healthy 45-year-old, and she told me recently that she feels better now than she did at 60. That is the power of food as medicine. Number 2 on our countdown, and this is the one that catches most people off guard, is omega-3 rich fatty fish, specifically wild-caught sardines and mackerel. I know, you were expecting something exotic, a rare berry from the Amazon or an obscure supplement nobody's heard of. But the truth is, the most powerful medicine on earth is often hiding in the most ordinary places. And omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA found in cold water fatty fish, are among the most thoroughly documented anti-cancer nutrients in all of medical literature. Here's the mechanism. Cancer cells are coated in a membrane, and the makeup of that membrane determines how aggressively they divide. Omega-3 fatty acids physically embed themselves into cell membranes, including those of cancer cells, making them more rigid and more resistant to the uncontrolled division that defines malignancy. A landmark study from Harvard Medical School found that adults who consumed omega-3 rich fish at least 3 times per week had a 42% lower rate of cancer-related mortality compared to those who rarely or never ate fish. After age 75, your body loses a significant portion of its ability to produce anti-inflammatory compounds on its own, making dietary omega-3s not just beneficial but essential. Sardines and mackerel are the superior options because they are small fish low on the food chain, which means they accumulate almost no mercury or industrial toxins. A genuine concern with larger fish like tuna or swordfish. Aim for 3 servings per week, roughly 4 ounces each. Pair them with leafy greens dressed in olive oil. The polyphenols in olive oil and the omega-3s in fish have a documented synergistic effect on cancer cell apoptosis, meaning programmed cancer cell death. And now, the #1 food that oncologists and cancer researchers are calling the most powerful natural cancer cell starver ever identified in clinical research. #1 is fermented foods, specifically high-quality kimchi and naturally fermented sauerkraut. I told you it would surprise you. Here is why this changes the entire picture. Cancer doesn't develop in isolation, it develops in an environment, and that environment is your gut microbiome. Researchers at the Stanford University School of Medicine published a groundbreaking study in the journal Cell showing that a diet rich in fermented foods dramatically increases microbiome diversity, and that microbiome diversity is directly tied to the strength of your immune surveillance, your body's capacity to detect and destroy cancer cells before they multiply. Participants who consumed fermented foods daily showed a 19% increase in immune cell activity and a measurable reduction in 19 different inflammatory proteins, including several directly implicated in cancer progression. For people over 60, the gut microbiome has typically lost between 30 and 50% of its bacterial diversity compared to younger adults. This is called dysbiosis, and it is one of the most underappreciated contributors to cancer risk in the aging population. Fermented foods, particularly kimchi and sauerkraut produced through natural lactofermentation rather than vinegar brining, replenish those bacterial populations directly. Think of your microbiome like a garden. Chemotherapy, antibiotics, chronic stress, and poor diet are like a prolonged drought that kills off most of the plants. Fermented foods are the rain that brings the garden back to life. Consume 2 to 4 tablespoons of naturally fermented kimchi or sauerkraut daily alongside your largest meal. Pair it with a prebiotic fiber source like cooked and cooled sweet potato or green banana, because prebiotics are the fertilizer that feeds the beneficial bacteria you're introducing. Don't heat the fermented food, since heat destroys the live cultures. If you're new to fermented foods, start with a small amount and let your digestive system gradually adjust. The relevant studies are linked in the description below. I want you to sit with something for a moment. You have lived a full life. You've raised families, built careers, loved people, lost people, and carried more than most would ever know. You deserve to feel strong in your body. You deserve mornings without pain, afternoons full of energy, and years ahead that genuinely feel worth living. It is never too late. I say that not as a comforting phrase, but as a medical reality. The body's ability to heal, to rebalance, and to push back against disease is extraordinary at every age. The foods we talked about today are not magic. They are information, molecular signals that instruct your cells to fight harder, function cleaner, and last longer. And you deserve every single one of them. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It truly means everything that you trust me with your health, and I never take that lightly. If this video helped you or gave you even one new idea, please subscribe to this channel and share this video with someone in your life who needs to hear it. Now, I have one final question for you. Has cancer touched your life, whether personally or through someone you love? A parent, a sibling, a spouse, a friend? If so, write their name or how they're connected to you in the comments below. Let's fill this section with the names of people who deserve to be fought for. And please share this video with them. Sometimes the most meaningful thing we can do for someone we love is simply pass along the right information at exactly the right moment. I'll see you in the next one.